Hi guys, I'm Brooke and this is Pippa, and we travel full-time out of my 2004 Honda CRV. If you don't know us already, we have been on the road since August of 2020, but we've been in this car since May of 2021. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, share, comment, etc. It really does help out our channel, and this is my full-time income while we are on the road, so we really appreciate your support. Today I've decided to do a Q&A video. I usually do these live, like I live stream them either on YouTube, on Twitch, or on TikTok. I have been taking a super long break from live streaming lately, and I also don't have enough service in this area to be able to go live. But if you didn't know already, most of my following originally came from TikTok, and I used to go live like literally every single day. I've been debating on bringing that back, and if you guys want YouTube live streams, just let me know and I will try to figure out how that will fit into our life and everything like that. But I decided today to put up a post on the community tab and have you guys ask some questions, and I figured I would answer them in celebration of our channel hitting 44,000 subscribers, which I think is wild because when this year started I had like less than 5,000 and now I'm at 44,000, which is completely insane to me. But I am so grateful and glad that you guys are all here and just are so supportive of Pippa and me. So to keep this video from being like 85 years long, I screenshotted the ones that I felt like maybe I hadn't touched on or just have like a little bit quicker answer. I have been posting all of the basics of car living on this channel since the beginning of the year this year. That was really my goal, to create like a living guidebook of how to live on the road, especially out of a car and with a dog. And so if you haven't already, please scroll through my videos, because I have probably done a deep dive on any question you could almost possibly have if it has something to do with like super basics of car living, like showering, bathroom, dog stuff. Everything is on there. So if I'm not responding to your question directly, it's probably because I've already done an entire video on it. Don't take any offense in the comments if I just link you to a video, because again, I already put in the work to put out that video, so I want as many people to see it obviously as possible, because a lot of people have the same questions, which is totally fine. But like I said, after doing all of those live streams for the past year of my life, being on TikTok and then now on YouTube, I do get a little tired of answering the same questions over again. I'm not going to pretend that I don't. So most of the time I don't like answering them because I find it boring, but I know it's a first time for somebody, which is why I created the video. I put it out there. It will live on forever. So anybody who ever has that question can go see my answer. And if anything changes or updates, obviously I would just make a new video. So let's just get into the Q&A part. I have all of your questions screenshotted on my phone, and let's just go. Okay, so Sandra says, I recently started watching you guys. You two are great. Pippa is awesome. Do you guys ever travel on the East Coast? I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I don't really feel the like innate need to camp and travel on the East Coast right now. I've spent a lot of my time between the East Coast and the Midwest, and I don't really feel the need to have to continue to go back to those places over and over and over again. And also, I like to camp for free. I don't like to camp in campgrounds or do any of that stuff. And there is just not a lot of free camping that isn't Walmart parking lots and truck stops out east. That doesn't mean that out east doesn't have some gorgeous places. I just prefer to boondock. I prefer traveling out west. Now that I've gone out west, I really love it out here. I don't like going back east a whole lot. It seems very crowded to me. It feels very like hectic to me. East Coast camping and travel and West Coast camping and travel are very different from each other, and I just prefer West Coast travel right now. Kim says, hey Brooke, I'd like to know what solar panels you use on your power stations. I enjoy your videos. Safe travels to you both. I'm going to use this question as a little bit of a reminder. Anything and everything I can link for you guys, I will always put in the descriptions. If you can't find it in the description, it's probably because it's in my Amazon favorites, or it's something that I picked up like at a regular store and don't have a link for because it's either discontinued or it just doesn't exist anymore, or it was gifted to me, or like something like that. I am never going to be somebody who like hides where I get things from or like doesn't tell people. I've purchased things on the road in person because it is a little bit more difficult for me to get packages if they aren't from Amazon. So I've shopped at like REI and Walmart and other stores like Big Five or things like that. And I will always at least try to link a dupe in my Amazon favorites if I can't link the exact product if it's not sold on Amazon. If you guys don't already also know that when you click on people's Amazon affiliate links, it does give us a little bit of kickback and commission. So I thank everybody who has ordered anything off of my Amazon favorites. I only link products that I've tested and used unless they are a dupe for something else. And I would never just put things on there like willy-nilly just to get commission off of them. But I really do appreciate the fact that you guys have really supported Pippa and I and have used that link, and it really does help us out. So if you are looking for something that I have and you just can't quite find the link for it, check the description box and then check my Amazon favorites. Okay, so L789 says, congratulations, I just subscribed to your channel. Do you have any siblings, and where do you go to shower and get ready and all that kind of stuff? So I do have one sister. She's 2 years younger than me. We live very different lives. She's kind of more settled down and she is married and everything like that. And obviously I'm out here doing all of this. But I do have a sister. I have an entire video on how I shower and where I shower, but it is a combination between going to the gym, campgrounds, or just using my outdoor shower to kind of refresh. And getting ready every single day, I obviously just do in the car. I don't wear almost any makeup. The only makeup I have on right now is chapstick and mascara. So I usually just kind of brush my hair in the morning, brush my teeth, wipe off my face, and then put mascara on if I'm recording. If I'm not doing anything on camera, I normally just throw some sunscreen on and call it a day, and that's it. I don't really get ready every single day because I really don't like go anywhere or see any people. So usually if I'm just hanging around in camp, it just includes a lot of bug spray and sunscreen. I really don't need to go somewhere and get ready. I carry everything I have with me, so I don't really need to go to a separate place to go do any of that. But showering, I have an entire video with all the shower options for nomads. Teacup69 says, hi, new here, just subbed a few days ago and I'm in love. My question is, what states are your fave to stay in, and what months have you found the most enjoyable for car camping / living? My favorite states, I think people can come to the conclusion because I really only post from a few states. I have branched out in the last year, but I do have my favorites that I really stick to. I tend to stay in Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, and South Dakota. So I tend to stay in like that, like western Midwest to kind of western side of the US. I've done Utah, California, Washington, Idaho, Montana. I'm thinking about going to Oregon soon to meet up with some friends. My just like comfort zone is in that New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, and South Dakota kind of like strip, just like that whole kind of area. I do branch out, like I said, but at the same time, I tend to go back to those places. And obviously my favorite months for car camping are September, October, November, December. That is the prime car camping for me. I travel more in the summer because I do have to move around more to chase the weather a little bit easier, but my favorite camping is fall camping. I feel like I can go so many other places that are too hot in the summer or maybe too rainy in the spring, so I feel like I can hit all of my really favorite places in the fall. So Delvey says, beyond temperature, is there anything dictating where you camp? Is there any area of the country you want to visit in the future? What has been the biggest surprise living this lifestyle? Does Pippa get car sick? Okay, so that's a lot of questions all in one question, but dictating where I camp is just more, I have a video of how I choose my campsites, but it is mostly weather. I just tend to prefer the weather in those states that I listed before in the previous question, and so I just tend to stick it out in those areas. It's not too humid, it doesn't have a lot of severe weather or anything like that. The only issue I usually run into is fire season, and I do have to move around a little bit with that, but it's mostly weather, honestly. Oregon and Nevada will finish out the West Coast for me, and I will have the entire western half of the United States visited and done. I do have a few states I need to visit on like the upper East Coast, but I just like I said earlier, I don't really want to go back that far yet. It's like a 3 or 4 day drive if you're driving it straight from where I am. So in travel terms, it would take me like 3 months to get out there, and I don't want to go back that far right now. What has been your biggest surprise living this lifestyle? How easy you adjust to it. I thought at the beginning it would be really difficult. A lot of people talk about how difficult it is to live in your car, how difficult it is to be on the road, but it seems to just really suit me and my personality. Not saying it's good for everybody and it would be easy for everyone, but it really does fit my personality in my life. So my biggest surprise is how easy it really has been. And Pippa does not get car sick. Pippa has always been my car buddy since the beginning. Pippa and I have been together for 8.5 years now, and we've always done road trips and car trips. And I think there's been a total of like 2 or 3 times that she's gotten sick. And most of the time it's been because we've had to drive in like really bumpy or windy conditions. And I like don't blame her at all, because obviously like if it's really windy against the car, or if it's really bumpy, you're just getting jostled around, and like how could you not get car sick? But on regular day-to-day drives, she does not get car sick. Lynn says, congratulations, that's a lot of growth. How old is Pippa, and have you had her whole life? How did you two come together? Pippa is 9 and I have not had her whole life. Actually she's about to turn 10 this year, which is wild. But I have not had her whole life. I adopted Pippa when she was, I think, around a year and a half old in Nashville, Tennessee, when I used to live there, from a rescue called Critter Calvary. And I found her on Pet Finder. I think it's so funny that we ended up coming together, because her description is just like, it was the complete opposite of how she is now. Obviously she's aged, but she's always been a very chill dog. I definitely knew like the second I saw her, like that this was my dog, and it was just something that like very soulmatey like kind of came together. And her foster mom was so sweet and like really same thing, like knew that it was the right fit. So I've had her since March of 2014. Pippa is my soulmate. If I talk about it for too long, I will like literally sob and cry. And like Pippa has honestly been the biggest factor in me surviving this world. Pippa and I got off to a very rough start at the beginning. Pippa was not very warmed up to me at the very beginning. She's never been like a super cuddly dog. She's always been very like independently adjacent to me. She's gotten more cuddly as time gone on, but less than a year after I adopted her was when I got diagnosed with cancer. So she came into my life at the perfect time. Like such a cliche thing, but it gave me a reason to get up in the morning. She had just like this unconditional love the entire time I was sick. And ever since then, I feel like I've been trying to like repay her for all of that. We've been through a lot together. We've been through a lot of moves together. We've been through a lot of drama together. We have been through a lot of hardship together. It's just been like the most unique journey for both of us, and I like to joke around and consider this our retirement for Pippa. We get to be together now 24/7. I literally leave her for less than an hour probably a week, just like running into grocery stores or showering or whatever. Like we literally never have to be apart from each other. And that's all I ever wanted. All I ever wanted was to be able to bring in an income, travel with her, show her new places, and be the best rescue parent as I could, because she has done so much for me. So, the fact that she just wants to veg out and lay in the back of my videos and things like that, I let her do just literally whatever she wants, because this is her time to relax and be chill. And I would never ever live like this if it was somehow like distressing her or stressing her out or uncomfortable for her. She definitely enjoys it, and yeah, we just never have to leave each other's side, which is the greatest part. Balanced Human says, from a mental health perspective, how do you deal with the harsh negative comments being a person whose job is social media? From the beginning, getting into this, obviously I created my TikTok a year ago when I moved into my car, and my YouTube channel when I moved into my car, with the intention of this eventually becoming my full-time job. I've never pretended that I just like blew up overnight and like, oh my gosh, what happened? Like I've put a lot of time and work and effort into building my community, especially on TikTok and then now on YouTube. The constant commentary on my life after living such a private life before that has been one of the biggest adjustments to my whole world. I lived on the road for almost a year before I ever decided to start posting it on social media. So to go from being just doing my own thing and just kind of hanging out to now having constant commentary on every single thing in every single thing I post has been really difficult to adjust to. I had a few really big moments last year where it was too much and I had to take a lot of breaks, especially just the negativity surrounding it. I don't understand why people are like that, because I'm not like that. As a user of social media, if I don't like something, I just stop watching it, or I just move on, or if it elicits like a reaction out of me, I can have that reaction. I just don't need to type it out and like have attention for it. So handling the fact that people just say whatever they want to this person online, and think it doesn't affect them is completely wild to me. It doesn't affect me as much as it did at the beginning. I used to get really, really, really upset and bent out of shape about it. But now I've kind of realized it's part of the game of social media. The things people say are really about themselves, right? So if people are calling me lazy, it's because they feel insecure that they are lazy, or that they're jealous because what I do doesn't look like as much work, and so by calling me lazy it just makes them feel better because they're a harder worker than me, or whatever. Or if they call me fat and ugly, then they can feel better that they're not fat and ugly, I guess. I don't know. But it's just one of those things that is so wild to me, that people will come online with their full name and their username, like first and last name, or their full email address, or something that's very easily I've been able to find some of these people very easily just by Googling them, and saying the most nasty things. And I think it's crazy how much entitlement those people have to like just be putting their opinions and their views out there to a stranger without knowing me, or ever even maybe watching more than like a few seconds of my content. It just says more about them than it does me, and they're playing right into the social media game, right? So whether it's good or bad, engagement is engagement and continues to push my videos forward. And honestly, I've kind of learned how to use it to my advantage. I also do certain things on purpose, like what was another thing that a lot of people commented on? Oh, not buttering bread in my grilled cheese video. That did really well on TikTok because people were saying it wasn't crispy enough because I didn't use butter on it. I just didn't show that portion. Or not washing my vegetables on camera in my salad videos. Like things like that I know will like elicit a response from people. So as much as you guys are like hate watching and hate commenting, I'm playing the game too. But some of the really mean things that are just like, you're abusing your dog, you are an awful person, I'm gonna call the police on you, I'm gonna call the cops, I hope you get hurt out there, I hope somebody assaults you, those things are completely unnecessary because I don't understand where that comes from in people. And that just makes me really sad that the internet is an environment that way. But at the end of the day, it is part of the job of being on social media. And as much as I would like, as much as people say like, just block those people, don't read those comments, etc., I have to read all of the comments to find the good ones. When you read your notifications, they come in one big thread. They don't sort out by negative or positive. So if you want me to see your really positive comment and respond to it, I also have to read the two negative ones that come right below it to find to the next positive one. So unfortunately, I do have to read a lot of it. And a lot of the times I go through days and days and days where I don't read any of it. And then when I feel like I'm mentally ready to go through some of the comments, that's why I kind of like respond in clusters. Or sometimes I will just search certain keywords so then I can avoid some of the really negative things. So if I want to just see if people have questions about Pippa, so I'll just search Pippa's name through my comments and just go and respond to those posts, etc. So there are ways around it, but at the end of the day, it is a free speech platform and people are entitled to their opinion. I'm just not going to respond to a lot of it, or if I delete you or block you, you lost your privilege by not being nice. I also will say, if you're gonna come at me with like some really negative energy, I have been known to be sarcastic or not give you a real response back, or I'll even be straight up rude back. So I don't play the game where I have to like pander to my followers, especially if they're being rude to me, just so you know. So if you're going to be rude to me, you'll probably get the same energy back. This is my platform and my job, I guess, and I'm self-employed. I can't get fired from making YouTube videos, so I will clap back if I have to. Krista says, congratulations, you've really blown up since I subscribed a little while ago. You deserve it. My question, what have you learned about yourself since being on the road? The biggest thing I always say that I learn about myself is trusting myself. Learning to trust yourself is one of the most wonderful things that you can ever learn, and like such a gift in life. And I think I really put a lot of weight into a lot of other people's opinions over my lifetime, and really wasn't very secure in making my own decisions. Even though I would always kind of do whatever I wanted, I was always looking for validation in other places instead of just trusting my gut and knowing what I really wanted to do. And so being out here and really it just being up to me to keep myself safe, to keep myself happy, to keep myself content, and, you know, all of those things, to just be completely trusting in my own intuition and my own feelings about things has been such a wonderful growth process for me. And I think that's one of the biggest things that like will never go away now that I've really learned how to like tune into myself like that. Grab Life by the RV says, do you ever think you will travel internationally? So I did a lot of my international travel when I was younger, when I was a teenager and when I was in college. My dad traveled a lot for work as well. He was able to take us on trips when he was also working, and so we were very fortunate to be able to travel internationally with my dad from a young age. I also studied abroad in college, and so I did a little bit of international travel in Europe then because I studied abroad in the UK, done Canada and Mexico, and so I don't plan on doing any more international travel right now while Pippa is still alive. So I just don't think international travel is like in the cards right now. Flying with Pippa is really stressful, and leaving her at this point is really stressful. So I just don't have any plans to do that. I am totally open to Mexico and Canada and traveling internationally that way because obviously I can drive there and I can take her with me. I don't really feel like I have a need to travel outside the US right now because I've had so much experience outside of the US previously. But at the end of the day, I have really considered relocating out of the US, especially because right now I'm really not tied down. I'm not locked down in by a lease. I have almost no belongings, and I do already have a storage unit that I can use, and since it is just Pippa and I have considered moving outside of the US in the last obviously recent years, as a lot of people have. And if that comes down to it, I will apply for a digital nomad visa somewhere and possibly do that in the future. But right now I'm really enjoying traveling the US, and I just want to keep things the same. Lena, I probably said that wrong, I'm so sorry, says, have you ever had a huge scare living in your car? I have had 0 huge scares living in my car, but the one huge scare I've ever had was when I was in my RV, which was when Pippa and I got attacked by an off-leash dog at an RV park, which is why I don't stay at a lot of campgrounds anymore. It really shook me up that I could have possibly lost Pippa since she was so outweighted by the other dog. That was a really traumatic experience for both of us. She still has some triggers around other dogs, and I have a lot of anxiety having her around dogs that are off leash now that I need to work through and that I've been trying to work through. But at the end of the day, that's been our biggest scare, and it was a pretty big one, and it had nothing to do with people breaking in or people doing like whatever people put in my comments all the time. It was a very real life scenario that happened where it was just somebody's family pet, and he's never been like that before. He's so friendly, and ran out of their trailer unleashed and just grabbed Pippa by the back of the leg and bit me while I was trying to separate them, and it was just like a whole debacle, and it's still traumatizing to talk about, so I'm not going to tell the full story on here. But at the end of the day, most of the safety concerns people have when they ask about like scary things that happen, they're very like things that could happen to anybody. That could have happened at a dog park, that could have happened walking down the street, that could have happened with us eating at a restaurant, that could have happened on a hiking trail. It could have literally happened anywhere, not just because we were living mobily at the time. Okay, this one's a good one. So Marissa says, any thoughts about getting a camper? I'm tossing it out around myself. Well, guys, you'll just have to see, okay? You'll have to see. Connie says, wondered if you see your family in your travels. I do not go visit family. I'm actually no contact with my entire family, pretty much. I went no contact with my parents in 2019 before I even got on the road, so it has nothing to do with me living my lifestyle the way it is. It just has everything to do with like personal stuff that I'm not going to air out on the internet, but I have no contact with them. There's another question in here that I'll answer right now that basically asks how they feel about it, and I don't know how they feel about my lifestyle. I'm not actually quite sure how much they know about it, other than maybe what people have told them. But even if my family didn't support this, I would still probably continue to do it. I've never really let their approval stop me in the past, and I just think it's one of those things that we're both better off, and from what I can see on their social media, we've both grown and our lives have become much more positive being separate from each other, and I can't see that changing. So I know everyone gets very up in arms about the family stuff, but your family can be people you choose. It doesn't have to be the people you share DNA with. Martina says, what is Pippa's favorite spot to camp? I love Pippa, so darn cute. So Pippa hands down loves South Dakota. And I think it makes me love South Dakota because Pippa loves South Dakota so much. But Pippa thrives in some like grassy prairie type fields. She just turns into a different dog, and I love taking her to South Dakota when we can. One of the first nights that we were in the RV, when I had the RV, we camped at the Laura Ingalls Wilder homestead in De Smet, South Dakota, and we were one of the only people there that night. And so literally seeing her run up and down the hills and through the prairie in South Dakota, especially because I was such a big Little House fan and a Laura Ingalls Wilder fan and all of that stuff, it was just like a very defining moment in my life. And every time we've gone back to South Dakota since, she knows when we're there for some reason, and she just gets this new energy, and it is definitely one of her favorites. Mind on the Spirit says, how do you handle pet care, vet visits and such? I actually did an entire video on this on Pippa questions, but I have a vet for Pippa, one in Indiana that has been our primary vet since I moved to Indiana in 2018, and then I have another vet in Scottsdale, Arizona, which was the one that we used after her attack when we stayed in Arizona. So she has two vets, and they're pretty easily able to get to during different times of the year. She goes to the Indiana vet in the fall to get her stuff done before winter, and then before we leave again in the spring in Arizona, I pop her down to that vet because we usually are in the Southwest in the winter. And then for any emergency, it just works the same way as if you were traveling with a dog. I just call a local vet and say, hey, can I get this or that? But one of those vets will always refill her medications for her, and I just order them on Chewy and get them mailed to me. Patty says, congratulations, what do you do with Pippa when you shop and shower? Pippa stays in the car, guys. I've answered this question 100 times, so you please go back and watch the longer explanation. I only do my grocery shopping and go shower super early in the morning after the sun has already gone down. So because we travel with elevation, when you're at higher elevations, it's so much cooler in the morning before the sun kind of really comes out. And I've just never, ever had a problem doing this way. My windows are tinted 5%. I get a lot of comments about tinting my windows, and they're already tinted. So people really can't see in, and they can't see that Pippa's in the car anyways. And I just do it very quickly, and I do it when it's not hot outside. A lot of people on social media tend to struggle with the idea that things are different outside of what they experience. And I don't know what that is. I don't know why people are like, well, it's 105 degrees here in Florida. How are you doing that with your dog? And it's because weather is different in other parts of the country. So just because you're experiencing 105 degree weather does not mean that we're experiencing that the same way. It would be miserable to travel like that, and it would be miserable and unsafe to be like that. And because I'm fortunate enough to be doing this by choice, and I do have the income to move around, that's how I handle it. Caroline says, congratulations, I'm a new subby. What is your least favorite thing about being a nomad? I don't really have a lot of least favorite things. I know people probably will think I'm gonna say like the bathroom situation or not having a bathtub or being able to use an air fryer or like something like that. But I honestly think it's people's perception of me, which is something I've really had to get over. But whether it's dating or friendships or just people in general, they tend to be very judgmental about living any sort of alternative lifestyle. They make a lot of assumptions, and because I do it so publicly, I'm getting inundated with a lot of opinions about my life all the time. So I think that's honestly my least favorite part, because when I was doing it by myself, it was fine. Rini says, I hope I said that right. Rini says, would you ever consider getting a van and converting it like other van lifers? Honestly, no. No, I started as an RVer. I started as an RV lifer. I was going to have an RV channel at one point in my life before everything kind of went sideways. So I will never convert a van, especially by myself, and especially in today's pricing market and everything like that. I like the RV style lifestyle, but I don't consider myself a van lifer. When I think of van lifers, I think of very a very specific group of people that moves around constantly, whereas I travel more like a retired RVer because I stay places like a week or two at a time. I set up camp and I stay there, and I even if I go on little like day trips and stuff like that, like I always come back to that same campsite for a long period of time. I'm not constantly moving like a van lifer. And so the way I like to travel just would actually put me towards an RV kind of lifestyle. So I have no plans to ever convert a van. If you see it, maybe people ask if I'm okay if I'm being like forced to convert a van, because I just cannot see myself in a van and being a van lifer, even though that was something I did originally want to do. But I really like the other style of travel. Luann says, hi, I've watched many of your videos and love them. Perhaps I missed one that explains how you keep warm in the winter. I avoid winter. I usually go down to Arizona, New Mexico, or Southern California. A little bit in Southern California. I don't love California. I don't like traveling in California. I just go mostly to the Southwest, where the weather is perfect all winter long. Yes, it gets a little bit chilly. It's definitely nothing like dangerous or concerning or anything that I really have to like work around. So this is my third summer on the road, so this winter will be my third winter down in the Southwest. And so also, like, a lot of people I meet on the road tend to spend their winters in the similar area, so that's when I do tend to meet up with like a lot of my friends and things like that. So I like staying down there and hanging out and doing all of that kind of stuff. It really doesn't bother me, but by the time winter is over, we're all itching and ready to like go travel again. But I just avoid winter. A lot of people say to go to Florida. I hate Florida. I don't want to be in the muggy, gross Florida. And plus, in Florida, there's not as much public camping, so I would have had to pay for a spot for the entire winter in Florida, whereas in Arizona or in New Mexico, I can do it for free. Kathy says, a big question I have is, would you recommend this lifestyle to others? I know different people have different needs, preferences, but do you think the pros always outweigh the cons? Honestly, how do I want to phrase this? I don't recommend this lifestyle as a permanent solution to anyone. You really need to sit down with yourself and really decide what you want out of living a lifestyle like this. Is it to save money? Is it to pay off debt? Is it to travel? Is it to see new things? There's always a lot of conversation that comes around people failing at van life. But I think it's just not everybody has a super long-term need to stay on the road. A lot of people get into van life because they want to take a year or two off and just travel inexpensively. And like, if that's your goal, that's great. If you want to retire on the road, you're gonna just have to make different accommodations. I plan to retire mostly on the road. Well, does that mean that I will never, ever, 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 ever own a home or have a home base of some kind? No, but I can't foresee myself ever discontinuing travel. But does that mean that I may purchase a home in the future or something with the money I've saved, so I have somewhere to go maybe in the coldest months of winter and the hottest months of summer, and I can take a break? Sure. But it just depends on what your goals are. I don't know why there is such a talk about this being like this permanent life decision, that if you move into a car or if you move into an RV or a van, you must do it until the day you die or you have failed at being a nomad. And I just think part of being a nomad is going with the flow. And so needs come up, things come up. If I ever ended up, you know, with a serious partner or something, obviously I would take what they wanted into consideration, and maybe the plans would look a little bit different. There's people who quit van life so they can have a home base and then travel internationally, which I would still consider nomadic. So it is very interesting that people like to just say like, oh, you quit doing whatever. But it's like when somebody sells their house and moves to a different state, you just quit by moving, and, you know, you failed at living in Pennsylvania or whatever. Like, that's such a weird way to phrase it, because obviously life changes and growth changes and your goals change as things move on. Your goals change even as you become more financially stable. Like, I moved into the car at the beginning in a very bad financial place. It was basically, I had the choice, but it was either use my entire savings to move into an apartment that I couldn't afford, or move into the car and become more financially stable. So I chose the car. Like, obviously I could have chosen an apartment, but I chose the car, and now my goals have changed now that I have become completely self-sufficient, paid down a lot of my debt, and have a different perspective on what I can do in life. So it literally just depends on what your goals are. But if you hate change and you hate traveling and you hate driving, I probably wouldn't do this at all. If you need a routine every single day, if you need stability and stuff like that, I probably wouldn't do this. But there's also other ways to travel full time that are not living in a vehicle. You can become like a house sitter or do workaways and just go from house to house, or become an Airbnb manager and travel from Airbnb to Airbnb or whatever. And you can still travel but not have to do it in a vehicle. I think people forget that, like, a nomadic lifestyle looks different to every single person who does it. All right, with that, I feel like this video is completely long enough. Thanks for sticking it out with us. And like I said, if there's something that you really have a burning question for, please, 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 please go back and look at my other videos. I promise you most of the basics I have covered in long depth video form. And if I haven't already, please just put them in the comments below. But don't be surprised if I just link you to a video where the answer is contained. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!